All right, well, it's time to take a look at some prospects. Joining me now, Bailey. Good to have you back, Bailey. And Craig Button. How are you doing, Craig Button? Yeah, waving your paws too. Now, people who watch the Kings and watch our streams know that Bailey loves to play Xbox. He loves to play NHL 20 from EA Sports. But before there was EA Sports, before there were video games and a way to track every player in the league, you used to have to collect cards. I've got a shoebox full of old hockey cards in my closet, and Bailey's got a box, a brand new box there of cards featuring OHL players. So we are going to go through a pack of cards. And Craig, you're going to go ahead and give us a scouting report, rapid fire style, on the cards that Bailey produces from this pack. So Bailey, first up, who do you got? Looks like Luke Toporowski.
Why are you asking me for my scouting report? Alex Turcotte played with him with the Chicago Mission back in Bantam. Why are you asking me? Alex Turcotte's going to give you the best scouting report on Luke. He knows him intimately. But I will tell you this about Luke. Excellent skater, and he's one of those catalyst type players that can separate you from the puck, use his speed, use his competitive nature to create some offense and create some offensive zone time. But if you really want the true inside, ask Alex Turcotte.
That's the drums. So our next call will be to Alex Turcotte. But the next card, Bailey, we've got a Kings connection already with the first one. Jordan Spence, the trend continues. What can you tell us about Jordan Spence, Craig?
He speaks Japanese. Did you know that? His mother's Japanese, and you know he's an interesting player because he's one of those late developers, but he also understood where he was at. He didn't rush to junior hockey. He played junior A. He dominated, went into the Quebec League. I think the Kings have a really good, smart defenseman in their organization that has a chance to be a really good contributor for the Kings down the line, manning the offensive blue line and making those good plays on the outlet.
Well, you can never have too many smart defensemen. Bailey, next card. Jacob Perot, it looks like. What can you tell us about Jacob Perot?
Well, he's an outstanding goal scorer, and he's a hungry goal scorer. He gets his stick ready in and around the net. LA Kings fans might remember, no, they will remember Tyler Toffoli. Jacob has some of those types of attributes in his game. Gets open, get me the puck, and then it's going to come quickly off the stick, and it finds its way to the back of the net.
We love goal scorers here. Bailey, who's next? Caden
Gooley.
Yeah. Is that how you pronounce it, Gooley?
Yeah, Caden Gooley.
Right.
Okay, so his game is predicated on he's an outstanding skater in every single regard. Forwards, backwards, laterally. He's got leverage. He's a big-time competitor. He gets up into your space. He closes it on opponents, both in the defensive zone and on the rush. And he's going to be so good at getting the puck out of a team zone and get it into transition. He might not be a big offensive point producer, but he's going to be one of those players you want it on your team, and opponents are not going to enjoy playing against him.
Bailey, you got another card for us? Ronan Seeley, it looks like.
So Ronan was a very promising player, a little bit younger, and he is the key of what I call projection. When you project a player like Ronan, you try to see where's he going to be in 3 or 4 years' time. He's smart, he's steady, there's not a lot of flash to him. If I had to compare him to a type of player, I'd compare him to Jake Muzzin. Oh, yeah, he was part of the 2014 Stanley Cup champion team. It took Jake a little bit of time to find his way. I think Ronan is in a similar spot, but can find a similar outcome for potential in the NHL.
Hopefully it doesn't take him 2 franchises to find a roster like it did Jake Muzzin. Who's up next, Bailey? Damon Hunt.
So if I have to give you a comparable for Damon Hunt, I would go to Columbus Blue Jackets defenseman Ryan Murray. Just efficient. You know, the game is simple. It's easy. You know, he makes the right plays at the right times. There's not a lot of flash and dash to his game. But coaches love players that are smart. They know exactly what they're going to get on a shift-by-shift basis. Damon delivers it. He's not going to be a big offensive player. I think he's a second-pair defenseman. But teams need second-pair defensemen that can skate and make plays in the different zones.
Second pair defensemen are hugely important. Kings fans know that as well as any fan base. Bailey, who's next?
Oh,
Wow.
the
Okay.
Austrian, Marco Rossi. And, you know, Marco's ready to contribute in the National Hockey League. He's physically mature. He's mentally mature. I mean, he's been a terrific offensive producer. He's a playmaker. I see him in the mold of Washington Capitals centerman Nicholas Backstrom. You know, you put him with good players, he's going to get the puck to them. He's really hard to check, and he's really comfortable playing in tight spaces. And when I talk about contributing, in my view, he's one of the very few players that's ready to step into the NHL and be a contributor to a team.
Is it crazy to suggest that he's a candidate for being selected with the second overall pick?
No, I don't think it's crazy at all, because if I compare a player to Nicholas Backstrom, who doesn't want Nicholas Backstrom on their team?
Maybe the Penguins?
Yeah, well, maybe the Penguins. Yeah, I think they'd even take Nicholas Backstrom.
All right, Bailey, what's the next card? Felix Bebo?
Felix is a player that's, you know, again, taken some time to develop, but as they physically mature, they gain that confidence to be offensive producers. And, you know, what you're trying to look at is when they're 17, what will they be like at 20? But when you see them at 20 or 21, you have a lot clearer idea. I think that Felix Bebo has taken his game in absolutely the right direction to find his way into the NHL.
All right, well, maybe.
And I was just going to say, look at what happened with Blake Lizotte. Blake Lizotte was a player that was kind of off the radar, but he wasn't off the LA Kings radar. Now look at how he's found his way to the NHL.
And maybe we'll get a goalie with the next card, Bailey. Who is it?
Oh, okay. So I have a love affair with Hendrix Lapierre.
Well, it is the coolest name in the draft.
Like, you know, when I do the draft for NBC, we usually have who's Craig's man crush. So Hendrix Lapierre is my man crush in this year's draft. He had the injuries. We know he had the injuries. But in terms of his age group, he's been amongst the very best players in the entire world. And I compare him to Patrice Bergeron, the way he plays. And if you get satisfied on his medical report, he is going to be a really top-end player. And I don't know where he's going to be drafted. If he had played the full season without the injuries, I have no doubt in my mind you'd be talking about him in the top 5. That's how good he is. Offensively, defensively, he's a complete player.
I was going to ask if there's any chance he falls to the Kings in the second round, but I guess not based on that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You never know what ends up happening. Hey, listen, you know, we're going to get, you know, probably talking about some players that fell to the Kings last year in the second round that I thought they had no chance of getting in the second round. So I'm not going to dismiss that. But if you get Hendrix Lapierre in the second round, you know, just do a dance.
Right there. Speaking of which, the next card, Arthur Kaliev.
Well, there was one of the guys I was thinking about, right? Like, I mean, to me, after Cole Caulfield in last year's draft, he was the best goal scorer. And, you know, one of the things I laugh about is when people want to criticize somebody for what they don't do. You draft players for what they do. Arthur Kaliev, for 3 years in the Ontario Hockey League, has been an elite goal scorer. And there's no question in my mind that for the LA Kings to get him in the second round, it's a steal. It was a steal last year. It's even more of a steal. It will continue to be a steal. And we'll be able to talk about this for years to come about how did the LA Kings get this guy in the second round. I know he was disappointed after the first round and he didn't hear his name called. He's ended up in a really good spot in my view.
Well, we're looking forward to rooting for him for years and years. Bailey, who's next?
Oh, Connor Zary. Another player I absolutely love. And, you know, I use a description to describe certain players entering the draft, and it's a Swiss Army knife. And by that is there's nothing they can't do in the game. And Connor is that player. He can play left wing, he can play center, he can play on your first line, he can play on your third line. He can score goals, he can make plays, he can check, he can kill penalties. Those players are incredibly valuable in my view. And for 3 years, all he has done is continuously taken his game up a level, up a level, up a level. I think he's a terrific player.
Well, it'd be too ambitious to hope that we get him and whoever we take with the second pick. Bailey.
So let me get this straight. You want the second pick, and then you want Hendrix Lapierre, you want Connor Zary. Who else do you want?
Is that too much to ask?
No, you can ask.
All right, Bailey. Who's the next card? Looks like David
Levin from the Sudbury Wolves. And, you know, David was the first overall pick in the OHL draft. And, there's a lot of expectations on a young player going in as a 16-year-old. The team wasn't very good. He wasn't at a level of maturity where he was able to perform to the level that he desired. He didn't have the support around him. But as that team got better, Corey Stillman did a nice job, coaching that team. David became more productive. 20 years old, now you start to see, okay, this is something that can continue to be developed. I always look at players and say, can they continue that development path? I think David Levin, as a free agent, would absolutely fit that criteria of being able to continue the development path. He's an offensive player that is gaining confidence in his game.
All right, Bailey, who's next?
Okay, my man crush from 2 drafts ago, Akil, right. who I absolutely love. And, Akil and I share a common thing. We both hate socks. I don't like to wear socks. Akil doesn't like to wear socks. I think Akil is capable of doing so much in the game. And I don't care where you play him. There's 12 forward spots on your NHL lineup. I think Akil could play in any one of them at any particular moment in time. And when you have that adaptability and versatility, he's so smart, he's so competitive, and he helps a team be better, but whoever he plays with, he contributes to that player's strengths and everything. Again, a second-round pick that the LA Kings got, I was flabbergasted that he went where he did, but that is a huge bonus for the LA Kings to have Akil Thomas. And as good a player as I think he is, this is a phenomenal young man.
Where's his ceiling?
We asked that question, and I think it's a really good question, like Jesse. But at the same time, like when I look at ceilings and I look at it, I don't know if he'll score 60 points or he'll score 40 points. But I know that whatever you ask Akil to do, he's going to be invested 100%. Your team's going to be better because of him. So when you ask me what the ceiling is for Akil and for a team that has Akil, he's a championship caliber mentality. He has that ability to say, I'm dialed in to do whatever it takes to help the team win. Ultimately, that's what everybody wants. And I think that Akil is a key contributor. You look at Trevor Lewis, who was a first-round draft pick. He was pretty significant to the success of the LA Kings. His numbers were never prolific or huge, right? But he became a really, really key performer for the LA Kings. And you might look at Trevor, you might look at Jarrett Stoll. These are all players that are so important to the success of a team and ultimately winning. And I think Akil is that type of player.
So I'm hearing multiple Stanley Cup champion as the ceiling. I'll take that.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
You will. Well, hey, listen, you can't be you can't win without players that can contribute in different areas, and you can't be a team of character without people of character. Akil's all of that.
I like that. All right, Bailey, a couple cards left. Who's next?
Ooh,
it's like
Jean-Luc Foudy.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you this: his mother won a bronze medal in the 1984 Olympics.
Wow.
Yeah, she was on the 4x100 Canadian team that won bronze. So he comes from some genes with speed, arguably the fastest skater in the draft. And he is so good at using that speed to disrupt, penalty killing, creating chances off the forecheck, making defensemen fumble the puck in the neutral zone because he's always going and he's intense. And that speed becomes a big part of his game, and he creates a lot, not just for himself, but for others. And he becomes one of those players that when he steps out on the ice, he already has defensemen and the opponents back on their heels because that speed is that type of threat to creating mistakes. And you got to be a little bit extra careful when you're out on the ice against him.
All right, Bailey, how many cards do we have left? Just one. Okay, last one.
Oh, okay. Quentin Bowtie Byfield. Why do I call him Bowtie? He sports the bow ties. He's got the GQ look. I'll tell you what. He ends up in LA. He's going to take the LA fashion scene by the lapels. That's how good he is in his dress. On the ice, hey, listen, I've compared Quentin's game to Anze Kopitar. So, yeah, I would say that. So if you're picking second and you have a player that you think is like Anze Kopitar, who would be the best teacher for the next Anze Kopitar? How about Anze Kopitar? I love him. He's born in August. He's a little bit younger than everybody. I think that Quentin is so good, and I'm not even so sure he even knows yet how good he can be. He keeps just scratching away different layers that show you that he's capable of so much more. He could end up being the best player in this draft.
Multiple members of the Kings front office have mentioned that there are 3 or 4 players they might be taking a look at, but online, certainly on the message boards and social media, the debate has sort of come down to Byfield or Tim Stützle out in Germany. There we go. I didn't realize the German league made collectible cards, but all right. So, we're going to put you on the spot here, Craig. If you had to pick one, who would you take?
Listen, I would take Byfield. And, I mean, he's big, he's strong. You get to start him behind a Kopitar, right? I've seen Alex Turcotte play left wing. I've seen Rasmus Kupari play right wing. I think when you look at a centerman like Quentin Byfield, who has a game like Anze Kopitar, he wants to be a factor everywhere on the ice. I love Tim Stützle. I think that he's like a Patrick Kane type, and I don't think the Kings would ever go wrong drafting Tim Stützle. But Byfield, to me, when I look at the Kings and look at how they're set up going forward, and you have Kaliev on the wing, you have Samuel Fagemo coming. So to me, you get that big centerman, and you think about Anze Kopitar and where he's at as he helps Quentin Byfield grow in his game. As Quentin Byfield assumes that role, taking the number 1 center role, then that allows Kopitar to ease back a little bit and still be productive. So to me, you end up with a lot of benefits by drafting Quentin Byfield. That's how I would look at it if I'm looking at it from the Kings' point of view.
Well, obviously, Kings fans will be waiting to find out who they do take with that 2nd overall pick, whether it's Byfield, Stützle, Rossi, or one of the other players we've talked about. Craig, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. This has been a lot of fun.
Bailey, thanks for showing us all of your hockey cards.
I got a question for Bailey. Did Bailey eat all the treats out of the hockey card pack before showing us the cards? Yeah, he did. I know he did. He's devious in that regard.
He is, and in many other regards. Thanks again, Craig. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.